My name is Anil Chhikara. For the last 25 plus years, I've been running, I've been chasing. I did my first proper startup, not a side hustle, a proper company way back in 98. This was with an Israeli company, it was a joint venture. We came from the CAD side. And since then, I had been running. I had been chasing either investors, I had been chasing customers, I had been chasing partners, I had been chasing co-founders, good employees and stuff like that. And for 25 years, it was just go, go, go. I would have visited more than 20 countries, more than 100 cities. And I used to travel more than 20 days a month. And it was that incessant. I was like the height of passion. I was like crazy after that. So 98 and 2000 I started a tech startup, raised some 2 rounds of investment, exited from that. Then I did a startup accelerator, exited from that, did a project in Middle East, came back. I was an anchor judge in a startup reality show called Hostle Ki Udaan. I don't know how many have seen that. This is way back in 2016-17. 2019 I visited China and we had tied up with one of the top accelerators in Beijing and we were going to launch a $100 million fund, India-China Tech Fund. And in March we were supposed to announce it, and in the February, as you all know, famous COVID struck. Initially I couldn't get how this COVID, what the life stock, how it's going to impact me. Because in the first 2020 everybody thought that by end of this year it will be over. So things were kind of going as usual, we were all waiting, then came the next year. And from a phase where I was constantly running, came a phase where I was totally still. There were a lot of, when an entrepreneur, for an entrepreneur, the least important person to take care of is themselves. Let me first take care of that buyer, that employee, that investor, that customer. In India, you need to fight with your parents also. Even your good friends will come and give you gyan, just like that. And my dad was from Air Force, government job, and they could never get it. Why I was trying to do this when I had such a great job with a multinational company. And all these questions which I thought I had resolved, and I kind of pushed it under the carpet, kind of came rushing back to me. And this included the fallout with my co-founder, who was also a friend in one of the startups. It also included the breakdown of my marriage over the last 20 years. And the worst part was I lost a really good friend, a college friend, because my startup that he invested in failed. So all this shit came back. And all of that got together and I got into a depression and finally I had a panic attack. And that's when I thought that this thing is, somehow this is not working out and I need to see what I need to do. And I was desperately looking for answers. In my career, I have worked with all top multinationals like in India, abroad and stuff like that. I'd had formal coaching for senior executives. I had my own mentors. I had mentored 100 of startups. But the challenge was that the questions that I had in me, I couldn't go and ask a human. It's weird, but we humans cannot open totally to another human because we always fear that they will judge us. But technology doesn't judge anybody. So what did I do? I think I'm a smart guy, but I'm a lazy smart guy. So I downloaded Bhagavad Gita and uploaded it to ChatGPT. And I said, let's have a debate. And I started discussing. I didn't ask questions. I said, look, this is what happened to me. And I laid all my fears, my anguish, my pain, the challenges I had gone through, my demons, everything I just started talking to it. And one by one, surprisingly, I started getting the answers back. And more than the answers, the last 24 or 5 years, I walked a certain path, but if I had taken this path, I'm not saying that I would have been rich but at least I would have taken care of them in a much nicer and calmer way. So I started going deeper and deeper into that. And then I started. So I'm going to share a couple of things that was really, really bugging me, and how I kind of found the answers to that. Now, one of the things. So what I started doing was that whenever there was a particular topic that I kind of resonated with me, I started creating a card like this. In the front, you would have the shlok, you would have the translation, and in the back, as you can see there, you would have a reflection. Like one of the things that was bothering me, that when I started my entrepreneurial journey, the purpose that I thought was this was the purpose, I somewhere got lost. And that was one of the things. But when I saw this, it's better to one's own duty, though reward of merit, than the duty of another when discharged. Better is death in one's own duty. The duty of another is fraught with fear. What it means is that everybody of you or me, I had my own specific kind of concoction that I had to go with. And the biggest challenge I saw was whenever a unicorn would be there, whenever a big investment, and I saw a lot of entrepreneurs around me, they would all go and rush to this new thing. Suddenly every startup had to have blockchain within it. Suddenly nowadays everybody has to have AI within it and all that. So I sometimes would end up chasing stuff and I would say, why am I doing this? And this has kind of helped me clarify that the importance of staying true to your own unique purpose, even amidst challenges. And in entrepreneurship, the brilliant thing about entrepreneurship, you will always find hundreds or thousands of opportunities around. The question is what to say no to and how do you go ahead. And that helped me because in a long entrepreneurial journey, trust me, you will go off track and sometimes you have to kind of recalibrate yourself. And this helped me recalibrate my own purpose. Then another thing was that with every failure, I would blame myself. I would say, oh, you are stupid. Dimag nahi hai kya? Why did you do this? I should have maybe done this or maybe I done something else. And that would get shaken up. And so this was one of the core key things, that how do I maintain the same consistent level of focus, work and presence of mind in spite of ups and downs. And this really helped me. It emphasizes fortitude, the ability to go ahead with the same amount of vigor and strength in spite of whatever happens to you. And what I kind of understood is courage is not the absence of fear. It's actually the ability to act decisively despite. Like you would be afraid, fear is good, but then what do you do after that? So this really helped me. One of the challenges, and this is a work in progress, so I'm not saying that I have become a saint. I'm sure nobody can see a hello behind this thing. I'm still a man full of flaws, and this is one of the biggest flaws. And I think we had some interns from NITK working for me and they will vouch for it. I have and had a major anger problem. And when I reflected and I said, and when I went back to studying across the path what happened when I was angry, and I could see that it had affected my marriage, it had affected my relations, it had affected a lot of other things. The first time I saw this shlok, it's like, wow, this was written for me. So from anger arises delusion. From delusion arises confusion. From delusion, confusion of memory. From confusion of memory to loss of reason. And from loss of reason, one is utterly destroyed. And I saw my initiatives, my relationships, my everything getting destroyed because I couldn't control my emotions and my anger. And I realized this is one of the key things, because trust me, if you are an entrepreneur, you are fighting with everybody. Everybody, whether they are investors, whether customers, whether employees, even your co-founder, they will give you 100 reasons every day to get angry. How do you manage that? I think that is very important. So this was also one of the really key things that kind of helped me. And then I'm sure this shlok, we as kids have heard it so many times. When I was young, I used to hear it a lot of times. Karmanye vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phal hetu guru mate sangos with karmani. Anyway, so you have the right to perform your duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. Never consider yourself the cause of results of your activities, nor be attached to an action. And when I was young, I said, look, I'm an engineer, I'm logical, and I used to be a proud atheist. No longer am, I realize my stupidity, but I was. And I said, this is really stupid. If I am not focusing on outcome, how will I work? What is the reason of working? If I'm going to give an exam, then the marks that I get is output. I have to focus on that. If I'm a startup, the investment that is coming to me, I have to focus on that. The revenues, I have to focus on that. And I wish somebody had explained to me. But then I thought that even if somebody had explained to me, I wouldn't get it because I had not been through the journey. And what I realized is that if there are theoretically 100 factors that are responsible for success of your startup, less than 20% are personally in your control. Rest of them are not in your control. So things will happen, market conditions will change, the flavor of the month will change, your co-founder may do something, you may be crossing the road and get hit by a bus. Anything can happen, right? And that's when I realized that the successes I got earlier, when I looked back and said, oh, let me look at the successes. I realized that I had a small part to play. Maybe I was more like a coordinator or a facilitator. But there was the team, there was the investors, there was the customers. The first customer who trusted us, Aditya Birla Group, and said, hey, even though you are a new startup, we trust you and we will give you the business. And I said, all the factors that were responsible for success of mine were not in my hand. The factors are not in my hand. I don't think worrying about them will change anything. So I stopped worrying, and that's when I understood that the principle of selfless action, where you say entrepreneurs should focus on purpose and process instead of obsessing over outcomes, which means you go and do whatever the best you can do. And then that's it. Because success, if it comes, it's not because of you. And when failure comes, it will come in spite of you. So this was one of the thing that I carried since my childhood and finally kind of got it. So and now I built a edtech startup where I raised money, exited and all that, and I said, hey, this looks like a brilliant edtech idea. And as I collected, so what happened was out of this came this, and this I created for myself. I created a 4-week program where every week focuses on a certain particular aspect of entrepreneurship, and then for every day you would have one slope, one topic, one card that you could focus on. So I created the journal, and obviously it has everything, and then it has a place where it gives you reflection, it gives you tips, what can you do to mitigate this, and asks you a couple of questions which helps you kind of reflect, and end of the day write down in the journal what you feel about this. And once you've gone through that, then it also becomes a lifetime resource that you can come back to anytime you are under tension. So, if I have to say one takeaway that I got, and this is if there's one takeaway from Bhagavad Gita, it's detachment, and I could never get it. I said, yeah, detachment, but I'm a working, how can I be detached from my own startup, my own family, my own this thing? But now I have understood that detachment doesn't mean that you own nothing. What it really means is those things do not own you. And I think that is the key thing. So, thanks a lot for hearing me out and giving me the opportunity to share my journey. Anybody who wants to talk to me, you can scan this QR code and connect with me. Thank you.